Dunne, my friend, how are you?
Zach, always good to talk with you, man, because we get to see each other in the Zoom virtual world. So it's always good to make it as real as possible, man. How you been?
Well, hold on. You have an excellent set right now. It looks like you're in your backyard on your deck, and it looks like it's a nice weather day. I think you're in the Buffalo area, if memory serves me right. Is that correct?
Yes, sir. Yeah, right outside of Buffalo, Boston, New York. Believe it or not, it's a little town about 15 minutes from Orchard Park. But we're moving even further down to the southern tier. I grew up like in Salamanca, Ellicottville. For anybody who knows wherever the hell that is, it's God's country. So we're building a house, and as we build the house, my office is kind of torn to shreds. So been doing on my podcast on the back deck. I feel like I should do it. Should have been doing it all the time. Edmund, my dog, might make an appearance. Who knows? Maybe Ella or Sonny pop out to say hello. You never know what could happen.
Well, we are a dog-friendly program. I will say I think this should just be like a one-time thing. You should always do your podcast and all your stuff this way. And I think you get people to come out to you. Like, I would go to your deck and I would have some wings. I would have a beer with you, and I would come do a show or something like that. Probably fly out there because the drive would be really long from the city, even though I've done that drive before. But I think this should be, a yearly thing. I think this should be your permanent studios now.
I'm in. I don't know why I'm drinking a coffee here, a hot coffee on a 91-degree day. What the hell's wrong with me? I should have grabbed an IPA and really let the takes fly.
So, by the way, yesterday, I don't know if you know this, it was National Chicken Wing Day. So I'm assuming that you are a normal, sane human being and you dip those chicken wings in blue cheese. But we have a problem in the NFL. This is a character flaw for me when people go with ranch over blue cheese on their wings. But I talked to a lot of NFL players, and I always ask them about this. And Jonathan Taylor was the one who said the Northeast guys are blue cheese guys. Everyone else is kind of ranch. We need to start making blue cheese really popular outside of just the Northeast. And we got to make sure that all these other players know that they're doing a disservice to the National Football League by loving ranch.
I obviously agree 100%. It's got to be Rudy's Blue Cheese, by the way. That's the best brand you can get. I don't have a sponsorship. I just love Rudy's Blue Cheese. In all seriousness, too, Zach, agents tell players drafted by the Bills ahead of time, if you're going to be asked about chicken wings, make sure you say that you eat your chicken wings with blue cheese, because there's been guys who have said ranch, and I'm no chicken wing snob. Hey, if you like ranch, whatever floats your boat, knock yourself out. But they get killed. I mean, these draftees get absolutely murdered by the fan base.
Well,
if they
I actually
say they
did some of the
enjoy their
killing
wings
this
with
year.
ranch.
I did some of the killing this year because I had a regular conversation with Deion Walker before he probably even knew where Buffalo was. And I asked him ranch or blue cheese, and he's like, oh, blue cheese tastes like sour milk. And when he got drafted by the Bills, I may have pushed that information out there. And I may have had a conversation actually about a high-ranking official in the Bills front office saying, you guys may have missed this in the scouting process. I'm just letting you know who you drafted. Even though I'm a big fan of Deion Walker, he is a ranch guy. You may want to change those ways with him.
You know what? If Deion Walker, he should have really executed full go on a full attack mode with public relations. Like, do the research, let the fan base know I go to 911 Tavern in South Buffalo, the #1 chicken wing spot in all of North America. I cannot say enough. Hole in the wall. Make sure if you gotta go to the bathroom, make sure you go ahead of time. Not the best, but the best wings. You might even wait 2-3 hours, and it's worth every minute because you won't be disappointed. Just basic hot. You don't got to get fancy. Doesn't be garlic this or barbecue that. Just basic hot wings. And, hey, if you're going to come to Western New York, let me know, and maybe we'll get together and have a beer.
All righty, let's get to Trey Hendrickson, Ty Dunne here with us on the show. So I saw the Schefter report. Obviously, he reported to camp today. The holdout is over, even though he's not participating in drills. But in the Schefter report, he talked about how they're kind of in agreement on the total value of the contract and also the years of the contract. But the big holdup still is guaranteed money. I'm actually optimistic after reading that. And when we get more of the full picture here, that, hey, him showing up means, okay, within a week, this deal, you would think they could find a little common ground and find a compromise and get Trey Hendrickson back on the field actually playing for the Bengals this upcoming year.
Yeah, man, that was totally my interpretation of the report today with Trey Hendrickson. It sounds like this is moving the right direction. It's fine print stuff. It's still maddening, Zach, right? Like, do other teams have as many hangups as the Cincinnati Bengals with a contract. Right. It's always something in the margin, something in the fine print, stuff that could have got done a long, long time ago. We'll see if this thing lingers, another week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks. But he's a veteran. He's off of a career year. He's got one job, attack the quarterback. He does it as well as anybody in the business. So he'll be able to assimilate quickly. And when he does, Zach, I mean, for all of the drama and the headaches that have been going on there in Cincinnati, Shamar Stewart, and it's so unnecessary. It's similar to Jerry Jones, Stephen Jones, and those Dallas Cowboys. It's kind of funny. You got the richest sports franchise in the world that their timing is all off in every possible way. They just don't know how to make money fungible and get these deals done and go sign some players and drop that cap number once you do extend your stars. And then the Bengals, who have historically been, by and large, the cheapest, one of the cheaper franchises in sports, they have the same problem. But I think once it gets done, Cincinnati immediately boomerangs back into Super Bowl contention. I mean, this is a team that should be thinking Super Bowl or bust with Hendrickson, with a new defensive coordinator, with somebody now Golden who's going to play those young guys on defense and maybe take your lumps in September because there's going to be a payoff in January. Lou Anarumo, one of the best of this era, obviously, what he's been able to do to Patrick Mahomes and Josh Allen in some big-time spots. But I think his downfall at the end was a resistance to just playing young guys, maybe catering to their strengths, and still kind of sticking with this scheme where, look, Cincinnati just has to be average on defense. They get to average, and you can get to average with Trey Hendrickson. Yeah, you should be thinking about Santa Clara in February.
I just look at the Bengals right now, and if you want to tell me that the fourth best team in the AFC once this Hendrickson stuff gets taken care of, all right, I could live with that. I think the fourth team thing is up for grabs, right? You look at teams like the Broncos, the Chargers, the Texans may have a thing or two to say about that. But when you look at the top, my top three in the AFC in this order, Kansas City still one until someone takes them down in the AFC. Then I put the Bills 2 and the Ravens 3. But it seems like a lot of people think that this is going to be the Ravens' year. How do you rank those three teams in the AFC in order?
I know this is going to seem like a cop-out, but I would take those four teams, Chiefs, Bills, Ravens, Bengals, throw them in a hat, shake it up, toss it, and I'd be okay living with the results, 1 through 4, of any of these teams because they all have the quarterbacks. As long as Lamar and Burrow and Josh Allen and Patrick Mahomes are healthy, they are the heavy hitters in the AFC. They're going to be competing for Super Bowls. But, that's just a bunch of filibustering. I got to give you some kind of answer here, right, Zach? I do love Burrow, though, and I feel like, man, he had statistically one of the best seasons we've ever seen out of the position, and we hardly talked about it.
If they make the playoffs, he wins the MVP. It's that he led the league in passing yards and passing touchdowns. That team makes the playoffs. They show up in week 1 up against New England. He would have won the MVP last year.
Totally. And you've got Jamar Chase and T. Higgins locked in. Now, you probably could have gotten that year 1, year 2 cap number down and maybe gotten a starter on defense, but that's another conversation. They're locked in. Mike Gesicki, Chase Brown, you've got some weapons, but Joe Burrow, I mean, the way he thinks play to play and just absolutely dismantles you, obliterates you with his brain. I mean, he came out scorched earth last season. I think getting Trey Hendrickson now, think about every season for Cincinnati, Zach. They go into this thing and there's some kind of buzzkill going on, whether it's Burrow having an injury, Jamar Chase's contract situation, Mike Brown saying something that maybe he shouldn't. Now this Hendrickson thing. If you get Hendrickson in there, he wants to be in Cincinnati. He's made that clear. He gets his money. Man, the vibes all of a sudden are really, really good in September, and maybe they actually start a season fast. Maybe they know how to tackle on defense, and I love Cincinnati. I mean, being here in Buffalo, too, as long as you have Josh Allen, you're contending year in and year out. The Chiefs are interesting. I was talking to an AFC front office exec recently, and he brought up Patrick Mahomes unsolicited, and he said, look at Mahomes on film. I know this is sacrilegious. I know it's taboo. I know we're not allowed to talk like this, but physically, athletically, things are eroding just a bit, he thought, with Mahomes' game, and he might have to adjust at this point of his career. Now, he's got a psychological stranglehold of these Buffalo Bills in Western New York. That's why they went out and signed a bunch of defensive players and drafted a bunch of defensive players until you see it you can't believe that Sean McDermott and the Bills defense can stop this guy. But I think it's something worth monitoring with Mahomes' game. How does he evolve as, in my opinion, the second best quarterback to ever play the game?
Still, though, with all that being said, the last 3 years, for all the flaws and all the vulnerabilities with the Chiefs and how the offense, right, it didn't look like what it was with Tyreek Hill. Well, they won 2 Super Bowls without Tyreek Hill, and they've gone to another one. So it's like, I grew up as a Patriot fan. I'm still a Patriot fan. And how many years did I hear all these people in the media talk and say, oh, this is going to be the year Tom Brady falls off that cliff? Until someone takes out Mahomes and then takes him out the next season as well, and we go 2 years without the Chiefs being in the Super Bowl, I kind of, respectfully laugh at all that stuff with Mahomes.
I mean, the Chiefs are the San Antonio Spurs, right? They're going to treat the regular season like an extension of the preseason and make sure they're peaking at the right time in the playoffs. That's when you're going to stay healthy. That's when you know what your identity is, all of that stuff. But I'll say this, they better improve on the offensive line because that was an absolute physical beatdown put on by Josh Sweat and Jalen Carter and Nolan Smith and the Philadelphia Eagles. Hell, they didn't blitz one time. We were both there in New Orleans. It was unbelievable. So that's why the Bills are trying to load up on the D-line. Brandon Beane came up in that Carolina Panther system. He saw those Panthers of yesteryear take it to Tom Brady and won Super Bowl, almost win that. He saw them in 2015 with that nasty defense. They want to create what Philadelphia created. And so this isn't the first time that Patrick Mahomes was running for his life. That Tampa Bay Super Bowl. Yeah. Hell, what was the statistic from Next Gen Stats? I think he ran around for like 497 yards before sacks and throws. And it was after that game where I was talking to one of Mahomes' best friends. They were down at Augusta playing around a golf. He had a terrible shot. He's like in the rough. Mahomes gets a call from Brett Veach and Andy Reid. You can't take calls, where the Masters is played. But they're like, hey, this person keeps calling you. You better take it. And they were letting him know that they had signed Orlando Brown. And they got Orlando Brown Jr. He's all excited. The adrenaline's pumping. He hits the most incredible golf shot of his life to get onto the green. That's just competitively how Patrick Mahomes is wired. So is Josh Simmons that guy? Right? Do they have the necessary reinforcements on the offensive line to give him the time he needs, as maybe athletically he fades just a bit? That remains to be seen.
Ty Dunne here with us. Who's the biggest challenger? Who's the team that you trust the most in the NFC to take down the Eagles this year and prevent them from going back to a Super Bowl?
Eagles are a juggernaut, 1 through 53 loaded. We could talk about Howie Roseman for an hour and it wouldn't be long enough. And I do love Dan Quinn's culture with the Washington Commanders and how they really rebuilt that thing from the inside out. But give me Dan Campbell and the Detroit Lions. I feel like, yes, they lost Ben Johnson, Aaron Glenn. There's a brain drain there. And we've seen with other teams that can have an effect. But they were preparing for this, right? You're bringing in an offensive coordinator, John Morton, who was there in 2022, who saw how this thing was built. Defensively, Kelvin Shepard, former Buffalo Bills linebacker. Now, they've been grooming him for this opportunity, and players love him. And I feel like they're getting their entire defense back. Like, this defense was a shell of itself last year.
A lot of injuries.
You're picking up Jamal Adams and Miles Adams and who knows who else from the Adams family. I mean, David Long. They're picking up guys on the fly. What did Dan Campbell call them? The quote-unquote Northern Savages. And they still got the number 1 seed. It was ugly how it ended against the Commanders. I'll give you that. But I know that's the last kind of image we have of the Lions defense. But you're getting back the player who would have won Defensive Player of the Year in Aiden Hutchinson. You signed DJ Reed, Alex Anzalone. I think Terrion Arnold. I know he had a ton of penalties. Love his physicality. There's still a defensive back group that's going to get in your face. Aleem McNeil, one of the best D tackles in football. And they drafted a guy that I know the Bills liked as well in the first round. So defensively, it's going to be a completely different team than what we saw down the stretch last year. So I think that they'll actually be able to win because of their defense, in spite of their defense. And offensively, I mean, personnel-wise, they're as loaded as anybody in the NFL still.
Wrap it up with Ty Dunne. Who are we praising more staying in the NFC North at the end of the year? J.J. McCarthy or Caleb Williams?
J.J. McCarthy. Yeah, I think that what Kevin O'Connell, Kwesi Adofo-Mensah have built there in Minnesota is built to last culturally. We probably talked about it in the past where this franchise was with Mike Zimmer. I mean, it was toxic beyond belief. So he kind of started there, making people want to go to work at 5 a.m. when the alarm blares and not being miserable. Like, that's where this head coach started. And then once he was able to implement his offense, it is as quarterback friendly as it gets. I don't really know much about McCarthy. I don't think anybody does, how his game will translate, but I trust the coaching, obviously trust the weapons. I mean, bringing in Jordan Mason to pair with Aaron Jones was genius. And I get there's a lot of Caleb Williams hype. Ben Johnson is a wizard. I'll tell you what, man, I'll believe it when I see it. I think it was a hell of a lot uglier than we're talking about for Caleb Williams. Right, let's not just sit here and blame everybody but Caleb Williams. He was bad most of last season. And if he won't take accountability, well, I guess other people can talk about it because he clearly doesn't want to take accountability. It's other coaches that are being thrown under the rug. Hey, he's talented. The talent's there. But when he gets punched in the mouth, we don't know how he's going to respond because he didn't respond last year well.
What are the Steelers going to do this year with your BFF, Aaron Rodgers?
I will say this. As much as I've criticized Aaron Rodgers, I loved it when that little kid just throws a football onto a golf course and he throws it the other direction. Teach him a lesson. You can't just be throwing objects onto the golf course. I kind of liked it. I know he got killed for it. Hey, look, I'm sure Rodgers and Mike Tomlin are sitting there in a dark room talking about everybody's
Ayahuasca.
counting us out. Nobody believes with their ayahuasca. Who knows what else? What did Terry Bradshaw said? Go eat bark. Who knows? Maybe they're nibbling on some bark. I don't know, man. Like, he can be as motivated to stick it to people like us as much as he wants. Outside of Tom Brady, quarterbacks at this age, they are knocked out by Father Time. You know, Rodgers talked about it himself last year. There's just things he can't do physically, athletically that he once did. He excelled outside of the pocket with improvisation, with the thousands and tens of thousands of baked-in reps with Devontae Adams and Randall Cobb and Jordy Nelson and those guys. I can't see the Steelers waving that magic wand, signing DK Metcalf, and drafting a running back and trading for Jalen Ramsey and saying, we're going to compete with Burrow and Lamar and Josh Allen and Mahomes. I think they're a 7-8 win team. And, hell, I really like Cleveland's plan at quarterback more than Pittsburgh, honestly. At least they're like, one of these four guys, hell, let's throw the darts at the board. If something hits, great. But now we got 2 first-rounders next year. It's a little more forward-thinking. For better or worse, Pittsburgh just doesn't think like that. It's compete now, win the day, try to get into the playoffs with Devlin the Duck Hodges and almost pull it off versus, you know what? Let's look at that quarterback class in the draft next year. Maybe rebuild gracefully and attack, a class of quarterbacks that's going to set us up for the future. That's just not how Mike Tomlin's wired, right? And we love it. His team's going to fight like hell. But I think that sometimes it pays to have a GM and a front office looking at the forest as opposed to the trees.
I'm going to merge 2 ideas here in the past, and we'll wrap it up here with Ty Dunne. I remember Seahawks-Eagles wildcard weekend a few years ago. That's when Jerry Jones waited to say, okay, they're not going to extend the head coach Jason Garrett, and they wanted to take away from the Eagles in that spot because they weren't in the postseason. I also remember last year, Sunday of the start of the football season, they gave that contract to Dak Prescott. When it comes to Micah Parsons, I think they're going to try to take away from the Eagles' thunder. I think they're going to wait, just like they did with Dak, and come week 1, Thursday night to open up the football season. That's when you'll have all the pregame shows talking about the Cowboys because Micah Parsons will have a new contract that morning of the start of the season. Your thoughts?
Dude, I mean, there's probably people listening thinking that we have tinfoil hats on and, these are really important business, football people. They know what they're doing and no way would they do so. Like, no, this is what Jerry Jones does. He wants the splash. He knows all news is good news. I could absolutely see that being a realistic scenario where let's capitalize the headline and the moment, even if it's costing us millions of dollars and even if it cost us a free agent back in March, right? Like Dak Prescott, like CeeDee Lamb, you could have got these deals done at least a year ahead of time, lowered the cap number, gotten weapons to build a roster around a 12-win team. How they won 12 games 3 years in a row. They never do it. They care about the star. And look, as far as Jerry Jones is concerned, the end of the day, he's making more money than anybody. He looks at that as a success. He doesn't care about winning Super Bowls as much as he tells us at press conferences. Look at their actions, not their words. That is not priority number one in Dallas.
GoLongTD.com. Make sure you subscribe. Make sure you read it because it is sensational. He is Ty Dunne joining us on the Zach Gelb Show. Ty, always appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you, Zach.